5 clearance lamps, proper color amber, not cracked, broken, won't function running. They're properly mounted to my visor. My visor is properly mounted to my cap in good conditions. I got my air horns or highway horns left and right in good conditions, not cracked, broken, properly mounted to the top of the cap. From there, I'm going to jump to check my windshields left and right, both in good conditions. They always need to remain clean, free from any stickers obstructing my view. The only sticker that I'm allowed to have is my DOT inspection or my license plate sticker up to date. We don't have it yet, but we're going to put it on the look. Next, I'm going to check my weather strips from my left side and my right side, make sure they're in good conditions, free from any leaks. And then my wipers, we got to make sure they're both in good conditions, make sure they clean properly and work properly. From there, I'm going to go ahead and jump to my hood. I'm going to be checking from my left to my right side. It is properly mounted to the frame, properly secured to my cap, left and right. And there's no dents, cracks, or holes on the hood itself. It's in good conditions. From there, I'm going to check my left and my right side. Blind spot mirrors is properly mounted to the hood. Brackets are in good conditions, no missing bolts. They always need to remain clean and properly adjusted to the driver's view. Then I'm going to check my grill. Good conditions, not cracked, bent, or broken, properly mounted to the hood. Next, my radiator shutters are all in good conditions, not cracked, bent, or broken. And free from any debris as that can overheat my engine. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and check my left and right side headlights. Proper color clear. The headlights have two functions, low beams and high beams. And next, I got my side turn signals, left and right. Good conditions, proper color amber, not cracked or broken. They do have three functions, which is the running, turning, and four-way flashers. From there, I'm going to jump to my front DOT approved bumper, properly bolted, mounted to the frame, no bolts missing, cracked or broken. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and check the bottom of my truck. We got to make sure that there's no oil leaks. Those oil leaks could be coming from your transmission, radiator fluid, power steering pump, and
AC compressor.
AC compressor is always going to leak. We just got to make sure it's condensation and not any type of other fluid or liquid, such as gasoline. Next, I'm going to check the truck, make sure it's leveled. If it's tilted to the left, to the right side, it means to have suspension problems, flat tire, uneven pavement, or uneven cargo. And now, next, I'm going to be checking for any wires hanging on the bottom of my truck. If I do see any wires hanging, that's not normal. My truck will be automatically out of service. And that's the front of the truck. Checking for my right side and the passenger side of my engine bay. And I'm going to start by checking my AC compressor, properly mounted to the engine, not cracked, broken, or bolts missing. It is belt driven. Next, I'm going to check my alternator in good conditions, also properly mounted to the engine, no bolts missing, and it's also belt driven. Next, I'm going to check the belt, make sure it's in good conditions, not frayed or cracked in any way, and it shouldn't have no less than 3/4 or free play. Belt tensioner in good conditions, not cracked or broken. From there, I want to check my water pump. It is gear driven. This is my gearbox right here, not cracked, bent, or broken, no bolts missing, and my in and outside lines free from any leaks. From there, my top and bottom radiator hoses, both in good conditions. There's no bumps, cuts, or abrasions on it, free from any leaks. Clamps properly secured, no bolts missing. From there, I'm going to go ahead and check my frame, make sure it's in good conditions, not cracked, bent, or broken, free from any illegal welds. And that's where it ends here, guys. Next, check the driver's side, my left side of the engine bay. I'm going to start by checking my radiator reservoir, properly bolted, mounted to the firewall, no bolts missing. Cap is properly secured, proper fluid level, free from any leaks. Hose is also running in and out, free from any leaks. Washer fluid reservoir, properly bolted to the firewall. Cap properly secured, no signs of any leaks, proper fluid level. Next, I'll be checking my airlines in general, making sure they're all in good conditions, not cracked or broken, or free from any leaks. And next, I'm gonna be checking right here. My air valve is it's called a master air valve, in good conditions, properly bolted to the firewall. Definitely no signs of any leaks. From there, I'll be checking my steering column, make sure it's in good conditions, not cracked, bent, or broken. I'll be checking if it doesn't have no more than 2 inches or 10 degrees of free play. And next, I got my U-knuckles, make sure they're all in place, not cracked, broken, or missing, no bolts missing, good conditions. And then from there, I'm going to check my air brake compressor. This is properly mounted to the engine, lines running in and out of it, no signs of any leaks, in good conditions, and it's gear driven. This is my gearbox, My gearbox is in good conditions, not cracked or broken, properly mounted to the engine, no bolts missing. And right in front I have my power steering pump. In good conditions, properly mounted to the gearbox, and lines running in and out of it, no signs of any leaks, good conditions. From there I'm going to jump over and check my dipstick. The way I check that is I pull it out, wipe it clean, insert it back clean, and pull it out. It needs to be above the refill line. If it needs oil, I'll put it into the oil receiver. We got to make sure the oil receiver is properly secured so there's no leaks. And from there I'm going to jump to my power steering reservoir, properly mounted to my bracket properly mounted to my frame, cap properly secured, proper fluid level, no signs of any leaks, lines running in and out of it, also in good conditions, free from any leaks. Next I'm going to check my power steering gearbox, properly mounted to the frame, no bolts missing, cracked or broken, no signs of any leaks. Next I'm going to check my pitman arm, properly mounted to the gearbox, no bolts missing, good conditions, and it's properly secured with the castle nut and the cotter pin in place. Next I got my drag link in good conditions, not cracked, bent or broken, no illegal welds, and it's followed by the control arm, not cracked, broken, in good conditions, and it has a castle nut and cotter pin in place. And then on the bottom I have my control arm, also in good conditions, not cracked, bent or broken, and it's followed by the tie rod, not cracked or broken, and they both have the castle nut and cotter pin in place, not missing. From there I'm going to check my frame, make sure it's all in good conditions, not cracked or broken, no signs of any illegal welds. And then I got my lift springs, both in good conditions, not cracked, bent or broken or shifted in any way. They're properly secured with the U-bolts. The U-bolts are properly secured to the front axle, no bolts missing. Now that I mentioned my axle is in good conditions, not cracked, bent or broken, no signs of any illegal welds going on. I do have my bump stopper in good conditions, not cracked, broken or missing. And I do have my hanging supports right here in the front and one here in the rear, both in good conditions. They are properly bolted to the frame, no bolts missing, not cracked or broken. From there I'm going to go ahead and check my oil pan, properly bolted to the engine, no bolts missing, free from any leaks. And I'm going to be checking my hydraulic shock absorber, properly mounted to the frame, not cracked or broken, no bolts missing, no signs of any leaks, in good conditions. Next I'll be checking for my airline right here. My airline is in good conditions, no signs of any leaks, and I do have my air brake chamber in good conditions, not cracked or broken, free from any leaks. From there I'm going to go ahead and check my slack adjuster. My slack adjuster right here is in good conditions, not cracked or broken, and there's no bolts or pins missing. And now I'm going to go ahead and check for my push rods. This is one of my push rods, this one right here. It's a push rod. Make sure it's in good conditions, not cracked or broken. And the way I check the slack adjuster and the push rod is I shock the wheels, keep in my pocket for safety. I release my valves, I push them in inside, I put on a safety gear, and I pull on the slack adjuster itself. If it has more than 1 inch of free play, it needs to be adjusted or replaced by a professional. At least they degreased it, that's a good thing. From there I'm going to go ahead and check inside the back of my tire. I do have my brake drum, also known as my rotor, in good conditions, not cracked or broken, free from any illegal welds, and it shouldn't have no less than 1/2 material. Now for my brake lining, also known as my brake shoe or brake pads, they should not have no less than 1/4 raw material, free from any oils, as that can create a fire or brake failure for both of them. Next I'm going to check the tire, back, top, and the front. These are 432 inches of thread. Recaps are not allowed, only virgin radios. And we gotta make sure there's no uneven wear on top of the tire. And then I want to make sure that there's no bumps, cuts, or abrasions in the front of the wall or on the back of the wall. Now I'm going to make sure that the tire is properly seated to the rim, front and the back. Make sure there's no gap in between, as if there's gap in between it means it needs air, so my truck will be out of service until I put air in it. Next I'm going to be checking for my rim, front and back, make sure there's no dents, cracks, or any illegal welds going on, as that will put my truck automatically out of service. Highlight lug nuts, all in good conditions, are all accounted for, not missing, not cracked or broken. If they show rust or shiny thread around it, it's an indication that they're loose and they need to be retightened or replaced by a professional. Axle hub seal, no bolts missing, all in good conditions, no signs of any leaks, proper oil level. And then my tires and rim is properly bolted to the axle, front axle. Next, my air valve, I'll be checking for the L valve, make sure it's not cracked, broken, or missing, free from any leaks. The way I check it is with the gauge. You gotta make sure it doesn't have no less than 80 psi, no more than 100 psi. If it has less than 80 psi, starts doing internal damage. More than 100 psi, can be a blowout. Boom.